which a distinction a year, and a new authority, makes. While the U.S. envoy to the joint nations, Nikki Haley, done her opening at the UN staff in New York, she alerted, to such who don't include our backs, we're take names. The new trump card authority came in publicly enemy in the direction the world flesh for creature, it declared, bias versus Israel. It convicted a solution how CEO Barack Obama let undergo in the safety justice how marked Israelite settlements a blatant infringement of World Act, and Mrs. Haley done precise how things were departure to be various. Almost a year after, the 193 members of the Union Scientific precisely which Mrs. Haley intended how at first date. Front of the UN General Gathering voice critical the Trump card authorities' judgment to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's equity and go the US legation down there. Nikki Haley shipped a short email to many decades of countries. In it she told how same CEO and the joint state get the voice individually and how she had been queried by Mr. Trump card to paper behind on such countries who elect versus us. CEO Trump card, happy in his energetic envoy, added how the U.S. would cut financing to any nation how backed the General Gathering solution. The meeting on Jerusalem was ever departure to be a very loaded discussion, but which was at share was the passageway of a symbolical, non-binding solution. CEO Trump card and envoy Haley's risk lofty the voice to a criticism of his us at first attitude to overseas politics. There was an prospect for diplomatic corps to let off vapor up Yuletide, told Richard Gowan, a UN specialist in the Europe Justice on Overseas Relations. Same Trump card authority got to show its neglect for the UN, and a lot of countries got to alarm their discontent in Trump card. In the General Gathering room, lot did fair how, decrying the U.S. tactics as intimidation and intimidation. In the late, Mrs. Haley was leftward in a length listing of names, 128 countries backed the solution and just 9 are elect versus it. Guatemala, Honduras, the Marshall Islands, Micronesia, Nauru, Togo and Palau united the U.S. and Israel to deny the solution. But key allies of the U.S. polished towards Washington's warnings and backed the action, countries such as the UK, Japan and France. France envoy François Delettre told the solution adoptee just confirms pertinent world law and provision on Jerusalem. The voice must not share or eliminate. A elder briefcase told the solution backfired in several instances. Canada, the briefcase told, was departure to voice versus the solution but modified its voice since it was unfortunate in the color the U.S. had undertaken. Mr. Gowan says the U.S. did not act strategically. Nikki Haley, who has a nice repute in some ambassadors for pragmatist, overreached by hard to rotate the voice in a kind of customer loyalty testing, he told. Same U.S. was ever departure to Miss Ill, and Haley should include treated about how more than shrewdly. But she may include been by blood pressure of the whites building to do as lot bustle as probable. A representative for the U.S. mission statement told the Voice collapse said of various history. He's precise how lot countries prioritized their relation in the joint state above and counterproductive try to insulate us for a judgment how was our independent law to do, they told. Really, the blood pressure of Washington did include a little effect. A elder Europe briefcase sounded anxiety above the EU not creature capable to say in one vote enthused discussion. The EU wants to be seen as a united policy artist on the world phase. But several East Europe countries abstained, such as Hungary and the Bohemian Republic. In reality, more than countries rather than anticipated, 35 in full, abstained. The US southern neighbor, Mexico, was one of them. Envoy Juan Gómez Camacho told Mexico didn't believe it was helpful to the world trial how a simplex activity on Jerusalem's statute was undertaken. He added, not do we trust it to be helpful, and we see it as unproportional, to gather and disaster meet of the General Gathering. 21 countries missed the voice generally, consisting Ukraine, that had backed a such action how unsuccessful in the safety justice on Monday since of a U.S. presidential veto. Ukraine newly signed and weapon transactions in the U.S. CEO Trump card is as well far more than worried on attractive to his policy basis rather than diplomatic core at the UN. His supporters loving his abrasion styling, and the go was surely designed at show them how the US was not departure to stay for critique. Lot diplomatic core at the UN trust Mrs. Haley was as well examining her own policy ambitions quite rather than relationships at the UN. Down there are no signs yet as to which vengeance such who backed the solution might person. But for such who elect versus it, abstained, or didn't visit, Mrs. Haley has guessed them to a admission to appreciate them for their amity to the US. And on Friday it was behind to industry as normal. In the Safety Justice, the envoy thanked members for work structurally in the US to undergo new sanctions regime on Polar Korea. Fair one of the lot issues wherever the US as necessary, the world society as lot as the world society as necessary, the US.